Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatītam Gagana Sadrisham Tatvamasyadilakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatītam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha, Upasham Prakarana, rather Nirvana Prakarana, Purvardha, section 101. The topic at this stage is Queen Chudala as Kumbha Muni, disguised as Kumbha Muni, continues to impart wisdom to King Shikhidwaja. And Shikhidwaja is practically at the state of attaining enlightenment. When the mind of an aspirant is pure, it receives the instructions of an enlightened sage as easily as a lotus stalk allows itself to be pierced by sharp arrows. How easy it is to pierce lotus petals with sharp arrows coming from a distance, pierce it. The question is that the fun? In the same way, gaining spiritual insight becomes spontaneous if mind is highly purified. Purified mind is like white cloth, pure white cloth. A white cloth receives colorings very easily. Colored cloth, to color it, that's a difficult situation. It's a big problem. Today, you have risen beyond all good and evil karmas. All karmas have been consumed by the fire of wisdom. An insight is being given what happens to your karmas when you attain enlightenment. Enlightenment is like Jnana Agni, the fire of wisdom. And that fire of wisdom burns up all your karmas immediately. All karmas are called sanchit karma, accumulated storehouse. You have to understand how in every embodiment you draw from sanchit karma a portion of sanchit karma, very little portion, few drops, become your prarabdha karma. And prarabdha karma, while you are working out your prarabdha, you are creating sanchit karma. Karma is in 3 stages. Sanchit karma, prarabdha karma, kriyaman karma. Karmas that you are now generating day by day. They are called kriyaman karma. Kriyaman karma, a portion, goes into adding to your sanchit karma. A portion adds to your prarabdha karma. And in other words, karmas that you are now doing, they will bring fruit in this very life, or they will enter into sanchita karma at a stage that will produce result in future births. All that intricate. We don't have to go into details at this stage. So all these karmas get burnt up. But prarabdha continues as long as there is a body. Prarabdha will rule over the body's conditions. And prarabdha operates in three ways. Aniccha prarabdha, swechcha prarabdha, parecha prarabdha. Some things happen according to your own wishes, then it's called swechcha prarabdha. Things happen persuaded by others, parecha prarabdha. Things that happen by storms, hurricanes, or similar unexpected divine will, they are called aniccha prarabdha. All these prarabdhas continue to operate without affecting the status of enlightenment, because no new karmas are being formed for future embodiment. As long as the mind continues to be a basis for egoistic desires, it continues to obstruct the vision of the self. As long as mind continues to maintain ahamta, the erroneous notion, I am the doer. But when it is unable to arouse and sustain egoistic desires, it is practically ineffective in causing bondage for the soul. That state of mind is called manonash. And manonash is in two stages, sarupanash, arupanash. Mind is practically destroyed, but continue to appear, just like old style lamps, gas lamps. The mantle was made out of fabric, and when it burnt, the mantle remained just ashes, and yet they continue to shine. And later on, of course, it all dissolves completely. In other words, there is an appearance of your mind. And arupanash, that same thing as videha mukti. The body is no longer there, so there is no role of the mind. Sages endowed with self-control and detachment abide in the purified state of the mind. They do not abide in the ego-dominated mind, which causes the appearance of the world process. Always remember three great obstacles, mala, vikshepa, and avarana. When we say purified state, It relates to that state where mind is free of all these three. Mala is gross impurities. Vikshepa caused by Krishna vasanas. Vasanas based upon ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, and fear of death. And avarana is a veiling caused by ignorance. And an unenlightened mind is called mind, but an enlightened mind is called sattva. Unenlightened mind means the limited mind continues to exist. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is that state where vrittis of the mind have been withdrawn. Vrittis of the mind play double role. Bahirmukhi vritti, Vishayakara vritti, that creates bhava pratyaya. Perceptions of this world are due to vrittis of your mind, like we are being projecting film on the screen. Nirodha is that state where the entire vritti movement is withdrawn. The entire projecting process of the mind moves away. Then what is there? The revelation. Brahman alone exists. The screen alone is. That's called pratyaya bhav. When you have come to that state of pratyaya bhav, the mind now is called sattvapatti. Simple way to understand, sattvapatti is mind where sattva has become the master. There is always three gunas that maintain your bhava pratyaya. Sattva, rajas and tamas. These gunas are interdependent. If that is so, like the story of Kumbhakarna, tamas, Ravana, rajas, Vibhishana, sattva. In that demoniac set, even though Vibhishana was sattva, he was assisting Kumbhakarna and Ravana. No need to go into deep stories, but just I'm giving you suggestion. Sattva is malina sattva. Does not liberate you. It promotes going to heavenly world, astral plane. And astral plane is not the solution. Good karmas you create lead you to heaven. Exhausting your heavenly karma, you come back again. Follow the same cycle of birth and death. But when sattva dominates the three gunas, of the three gunas, when sattva becomes dominating, then it's called sattva. Sattva is highlighted, so it's just named as sattvapatti. The whole mental process is dominated by sattva. That's the goal of life. In simple terms, in sadhana, continue to enhance sattva within your personality. And how can you do that? If you turn your attention to the practice of virtuous qualities, especially the gatekeepers, Shama, Dhamma, rather Shama, Satsang, Santosh, Vichar, Shama, serenity, Santosh, contentment, Satsang, good association, Vichar, inquiry. If you are allowing these four profound sources of all virtues, all the Daivi Sampat, divine wealth, will come to you. And that type of virtuous set will not hold you in celestial plane, in astral plane. Astral plane will become your slave. Heaven will welcome you in order to let you go beyond heaven, the absolute state of moksha, liberation. So you have scriptural stories of how great personalities go to heaven, like Shantanu. Instead of falling in love with heavenly apsaras, he falls in love with Ganga Devi, Jnana Shakti. And then story goes on building up on that basis. Sages endowed with self-control and detachment abide in the purified state of the mind. In order to understand the role of Sattvapatti, let me again enumerate 7 steps of wisdom. Shubhecha, aspiration for attaining enlightenment. That's the beginning of opening the door to Sattvapatti. Vicharana, developing the ability to have a witnessing attitude towards your mind, towards your whole personality, and thereby vichar, who am I? That's called vicharana movement. Third movement, third bhumika is tanu manasi, attenuation of mind. Mind, it has always a big load due to created by malas, gross impurities, anger, hate, greed, etc. But now that load begins to shift. Malas are being sublimated. So now you are holding your mind as if it is a light, something very easy to hold. They're like a whole bag of cotton fiber. Looks very big, but it has no load. So that is, when it has come to that, now opens the door to Sattvapatti. All those virtuous qualities that used to shake, they rise and fall, they increase and decrease, they wax and wane. Those virtuous qualities will not shake no matter what happens. Your faith in attaining enlightenment will not be shaken. Your movement towards enlightenment will not be shaken. Garal sudhari pukaray mitai, Gopad Sindhu Anal Shitalai. For you, poison will become nectar. Enemies begin to develop friendship. What I have quoted is Tulsidasa's, from Tulsidasa's Ramayana. The whole ocean of problems will become like a crossing over a cow's foot. print of water, and so forth. O king, the fruits of austerity are limited. They do not destroy the very root of misery. But the fruit of wisdom is unlimited and eternal. It causes a cessation of pain. Fruit of austerity is early stage of your sadhana, ritualistic stage. A ritualistic stage is kindergarten and some other stages in your education. The advanced education is Jnana Yoga. As long as one does not possess gold, so long he must run after brass. In the same way, as long as one has not developed spiritual aspiration for self-realization, one must continue to run after ritualistic actions and try to attain heavenly enjoyments. In other words, people go after riddhis and siddhis, after psychic powers, major powers, minor powers, and their mind interprets that as spiritual progress. But siddhis are not the progress, because they inflate your ego. And that which makes your ego inflated is a great obstacle to enlightenment. When the fruit of wisdom is realized, all efforts are crowned with success. Real success in every effort is that which is paving the way to enlightenment. So as I was just brought this topic of 7 steps, let me give the names of all the 7 steps. Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasi, Sattvapatti. After Sattvapatti comes Asamsakti, the practice of detachment that used to have a stress and effort, now it is effortless. Asamsakti. All experiences go on in your life, but you are ever aware of your essential identity. All illuminations of the sun go on shaking, but the sun in its own place, it remains unshaken. How can the sun be shaken by its own illuminations? And other Asamsakti leads you to Padartha Bhavana. All worldly experiences led by conditioned mind, even the idea you possess intellect, ego, senses, pranas, all that multiplicity of experience is called Padartha, matter. Padartha means matter. All this creates bhavavyadhi, disease of the world process. And that's what matters most for every individual. The disease, there is pain in your life. If you have understood it, now you are understanding the symptom of your disease, bhavavyadhi. And therefore, your whole focus is how to remove the root of the disease, that's ignorance. In brief, in Padartha Bhavana, you become free of all these mind, intellect, egoism, just like in deep sleep. You are free of all this under the veil of ignorance. But now you are free of all this, led by enlightenment. And Padartha Bhavana leads you to Turiya, transcendental state. O friend, give up all that is limited and finite. Seek that ocean of the self, compared to which all worldly achievements are like tiny drops. Attaining enlightenment is bhuma, attaining infinite bliss. Going after worldly attainment, that's called alapam. They are like dewdrops, even not drop of reality, but illusion. No matter how big is your progress, if your mind is not keen to attain enlightenment, you can gain kingship, you can be a monarch, you can be a great president, you can be most powerful in the world. But will you be the same personality in your next life? In next life you can be a miserable wretch based on your karma. In next life you can be even an animal. You can be a bird. Next life again you can gain big emperorship, big power. So, all the attainments in this world without enlightenment are meaningless, vain. In this world, all miseries that arise are due to the distractions of the mind. For one who possesses a mind that is undistracted, these are the points for attaining absolute fulfillment of your life. Param Tripti, how to control distractions, vikshepa. So, possess a mind that is undistracted, peaceful, shant, sturdy, means firm in all challenging situations, tranquil, unagitated, and calm. There exists the infinite kingdom of the self. O king, you have attained the state of liberation, which has no beginning, middle, or end. You are abiding in that absolute state of consciousness, which is devoid of all differentiations and multiplications. You are beyond all miseries and sorrows. Section 102. Kumbhamuni disappears, leaving the king in a profound state of samadhi. Kumbhamuni said, O king, please continue to reflect upon the self and abide in your essential nature. Now I must hasten to the royal court of Indra. It is a festive occasion in the heavenly world. You must realize Kumbha Muni is still maintaining the lie about her identity. She is Queen Chudala, and she has royal duties to perform. Now she wants to go back and settle the royal matters and then come back for him. But instead of telling exactly what she has to do, she tells the same mystic lie that she is needed in the heavenly court of Indra. In other words, the type of conduct that will allow the aspirant move towards enlightenment. That type of conduct is adopted by sages and saints. Any conduct we adopt is ultimately a form of Leela, a magic show. I am expected to attend at the royal court along with my father Narada. A cultured person must follow the codes of courtesy. Thus saying, Kumbha Muni disappeared like dissolving mist before the very eyes of the king. The king was amazed to see the phenomena. He marveled at his spiritual fortune. Same Chudala, who was so enlightened, but Shikhidwaja had no inspiration through her when he was not qualified. And same Chudala is now given him all this wisdom. This subtle point is being brought before you. In the same satsanga setting, one who is qualified gains so immense inspiration. Another person full of perspiration and goes on looking for where else can I go. This does not give me liberation. I must gain power. Chudala now feels how blessed he has been to receive spiritual instructions from a divine personality. Of all pure people, Narada's own son. And he reflected upon the instructions that he had received. In the course of his reflections, the king entered into the profundities of Nirvikalp Samadhi. His body became steady like a statue. Here Samadhi is being mentioned as a means, not Sahaj Samadhi, as long as you are practicing it. Practice stage. In practice stage, an aspirant passes through a state of keeping the whole body and mind in a static state, like a rock, as if we have turned it to a painted picture in deep meditation. And that has its purpose. Section 103. Queen Chudala awakens the king from Samadhi. While King Shikhidwaja enjoyed deep Samadhi, Queen Chudala flew to her royal city and engaged herself in the performance of her royal duties. After 3 days, she returned to the king in the form of Kumbha Muni. Desirous of awakening him, she used her yogic powers roared like a lion, but the king remained steady. You're trying to show the king was in real, sincere samadhi. If samadhi has been of a lesser type, big noise nearby will be enough to break it. But his samadhi is to be broken by fulfillment of samadhi. What samadhi has to bring about, that means a little going to a higher progress. Your samadhi is broken by Saj samadhi. Chudala or Kumbha Muni didn't have any other choice now. She realized the subtle way of awakening Shikhidwaja. With her subtle vision, she found that the king was backed up by prarabdha karma. Therefore, he was destined to come back to a normal state of consciousness. She entered into the subtle body of the king, just as a bird would enter its nest. And she sang the songs of Samaveda. That's the movement to Sahaj Samadhi. Tapantam na nindyat taduratam. Varshantam na nindyat taduratam. Bhutan na nindyat. That's type of a sample I'm giving from Samaveda. Sarvam ahamai amiti upasita. All this is I am. It is that type of enlightenment that breaks your lower samadhi, or call it higher, whichever way. Practice of samadhi that makes your body completely static. Now your samadhi is saj, is spontaneous. When there is spontaneous samadhi, a sage is called sthita prajna. And that state is the state of melody. As long as you don't have that state, there is some malady in your personality. King Shikhidwaja Swatha's purified chitta vibrated with the song, and as a result of this, he came back to normal consciousness. He was immensely delighted to see Chudala in the form of Kumbha Muni. He offered flowers at the feet of his Guru, Kumbha Muni. And with this I will be concluding for now. Om. Om. Ram, 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 Ram. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya grace of God over all of you, with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mrita. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.